This is Beyond the Fold, where we talk about what matters most in modern business. I'm Lawrence Hitches, the GM of Studio Hawk, a globally renowned SEO agency. In each episode, I sit down with people shaping the future of marketing and business. We'll hear how they got started, the wins, the pivots, and the hard lessons learned along the way. So let's get into it. Erin, how are you going?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Nice to meet you. You've come in, obviously dressed very stylishly for the Melbourne winter.
No pressure. I always have to think about what I wear on these things.
Is that a lot to think about every morning?
Yes, but I love it.
You love it?
I love it. I don't get as much time as I used to, so it can be stressful because I'm trying to get 4 kids to school and get ready. But I do love it.
How does that work?
Yeah, you know what I do? I usually drop them to school in like activewear or a casual look.
Yep.
And then I come back home and I give myself like half an hour to get ready. And then I have space. So I'm not like irritated or feeling pushed by kids brushing their teeth around me,
Having to figure
climbing on my legs, which they're usually doing.
What show-stopping look am I going to have today?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
with 30 minutes, you can design all that and just get that done.
Exactly. And I can feel into like who I want to be today. Whereas when they're around, because why so many women and mums are in activewear all day, I get it because it's too hard usually, but I give myself space afterwards.
It's stylish and practical.
Exactly.
Right? Talk about 10,000 hours of mastery, like going into that. Just being able to do that in tight 30. I keep it simple. I wear the same shirt every day. Excited to chat to you. I think it's always good to start from the beginning, the origin story.
Yeah.
Now, from my research and understanding, this idea of triangle swimwear was brought out on a date.
It was. So it was a second date, which is quite nerve-wracking because it was at the beach. So I met a guy and we kind of fell for each other quite quickly. First date, and then second date, he said, let's go hang out at the beach. And I was like, yeah, no worries, internally freaking out because I wasn't a bikini girl. So like I only had bikinis from like Cotton On and like just black, boring. And I thought, well, I've got to step it up a little bit for this guy. So I went to try and find a bikini to impress him. And I went to Chadstone shopping centre in Melbourne, I know. And I went around having a look and I couldn't really find anything. There were like the surf brands, you know, like Rusty, Roxy, Billabong. And then there were the more sort of, I guess, high-end brands.
Yep.
And they were pretty expensive, like $160 for a bikini, which on my little e-com fashion salary wasn't, you know, I couldn't really afford that for a bikini. So I got down to the beach and sort of told Craig that I'd had real trouble finding a bikini, and he said, well, we should start a bikini brand. And
was that the actual first response?
Quite literally, he was like, we spoke about, I think, for like a couple of minutes of kind of, or even a bit long, maybe like half an hour of actually kind of like assessing this gap that we thought we saw. I thought we were just having a casual conversation, but
Just full market research.
Yeah, right. And he's like, he's 10 years older than me. So he's already had a business in his life. So he's obviously on that entrepreneurial train and I wasn't quite there. And while we were talking, his cogs were clearly turning, thinking there's a business here. And then he suggested it and I said, cool, sure, no worries. And that is literally where it started and it just kind of snowballed fairly quickly from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from that point, you started dating.
Yeah.
How much of it was aligned to your dating, but the business meetings were happening at the, was it,
Always,
which way was it leading?
It was pretty much the same at the same time. I would say the business probably took the lead from the very beginning and it became so intertwined, him and I and Triangle. It was like Triangle was just like the third person in our relationship from date 2. It was always there. So kind of a very, I guess, weird and interesting relationship because of that omnipresent business. And when you're getting a business off the ground, it obviously takes so much time and energy and, it was a lot, and I was young. I was 27 when we met. I just turned 27. So I was probably from the very beginning always struggling with that sort of how to navigate having a business and keep the personal relationship a little bit separate. And that was not possible in that relationship at all. Whereas now, fiercely protective of that with my husband, we keep it very separate.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
So you've gone on this beach date, you decide to start the business.
Yeah.
What happened next after that? What the next date was?
Yeah, well, we kind of like, because that's the thing. A lot of people ask like, how do you start a business and what are the first things that you do?
What people
They want to know. And there's so many ways to go about it. We were both in Australia. We both had full-time jobs. So we couldn't really throw ourselves into it too much. So we did little bits that we could sort of every night after work and on weekends. And that was coming up with the name, coming up with the logo, deciding what our brand colors would be. And this was just like a stepped out, like fun process. We decided to maybe like draw up some bikinis and maybe get some sampled. So we'd contact some factories that Craig knew overseas and we got samples made. But it was like quite a drawn out process. There was no business planning or strategic ideas. It was purely the visuals at this point, like the aesthetics. Like what will the bikini look like? What will the name of the brand be called? And what color, you know, what fabrics and colors and prints do we want? And that kind of was about a 6-month process of just stepping through that. And it got to, so when we met, that was November 2000 or October 2010. It was the day after my birthday. And then in about May 2011 or April 2011, we'd been kind of doing this half-hearted, both still working. What are we doing here? Craig went on a trip to Hong Kong with his other business that he was working on and came back and said, hey, would you move to Hong Kong? And I was like, sure, I've never been to Hong Kong. I was like, yeah. He's like, because I feel like that would be a great place for us to build the business from. And I trusted this man implicitly. He's 10 years older. He's more experienced, you know. So I was just like, absolutely sure. And I also am kind of one of those people that just gives everything a crack. So I was like, this sounds really exciting. Why not? So that was in May or end of April 2011. 6 weeks later, we were on a plane to Hong Kong to move. Landed in Hong Kong, and then that's when it kind of got a little more serious because we didn't have jobs. We couldn't get jobs because we didn't have visas. And we had no launch date for Triangle in our mind, nor did we really have any idea of how we were going to launch it into market. I certainly had no idea how to do that.
No website plan.
No website plans, no strategy, like wholesale, DTC, like what's it going to be? So that was about 6 months of, I don't know, what we just kind of like fluffed around and I guess like ran out of the money that we had, which was only $10,000 Aussie anyway, which is nothing. And then we were kind of like flat broke at about October that year and thinking, what do we do? Do we go back home or do we give this like a real serious crack and borrow some money from friends to put a production order through? Because the $10,000 that we'd had to go over there with went towards rent and sampling and living in Hong Kong. And we kind of got there and sort of had a couple of months of enjoying living in another city because, you know, like neither of us ever had before lived overseas. Yeah, we were like, let's just walk around, you know, like it's like Hong Kong back then, especially that was in 2011, was such an exciting, such an exciting, vibrant city. So we just walked around and wasted our money and then ended up having to borrow money from some of Craig's friends, which was really an absolute blessing. We borrowed like $25,000, put a production order through, got really serious, said like, drew a line in the sand and kind of said like, let's do this. Let's just put some bikinis out into the market. And we sold our first bikini online in January 2013.
So that whole process was about, what, a year and a bit?
It was a year and a bit, yeah.
Of just pain, figuring things out.
Yeah.
You probably questioned it a few times.
Oh my God, especially when we got to Hong Kong and the novelty of living in Hong Kong wore off and the reality of like, I would have to text my parents back home and beg them. I remember like, can I please not beg them, but like, you know, be like, can I please have $50 because I want to get like my eyebrows waxed and like I want to, you know, like I want to do basic maintenance things as a female that I'd always done back home, nothing crazy. Like I'd have to ask them because we had no money coming in and no line of sight of sort of like how to have money coming in. I think we both thought Triangle would have evolved a lot quicker. And a lot easier potentially. And it still was fairly quick, but it was pretty painful. It was like a good 6 months of like, do we just go back home? And then what does that look like? And everyone's I'm so embarrassed if we go back home. So luckily we were able to borrow some money and put some bikinis through and then sell through on, we didn't actually sell through on all of them, but sell through on some of them, which was enough to kind of keep us going for a little bit.
Yeah. So even in that lesson of that, you had that 1.5 year journey, just pushing through it.
Yeah.
You probably had the choice to back out, but you just kept going.
Yeah. I've never been a person to quit on those things ever. I will get close to it and kind of probably like make my mind up that I do want to quit and then give myself like a couple of like days to think about it and then always come back around. I think I'm naturally very optimistic and that serves you very well in the founder space because even though you spiral and have these panics and these moments, you can reason with yourself as an optimist to kind of get back on track and think, well, you know, like, what if it doesn't work out? And then you're like, well, what if it does? You know?
What if it does?
What if it does?
50-50, right?
Exactly. That was always the thing that kept me going. They're like, well, what if it could? Like, what if we can make this work? So that's always what kept me going.
And in that partnership, what hat did you wear, or probably were multiple hats versus your partner?
Yeah, so in that initial year, I probably wore like one hat and he wore maybe like 20. I was more so like product market fit, market research, because my background was in e-commerce and customer care and that sort of, I guess, marketing side, which before launch isn't really, you don't have a customer. And yeah, you can kind of come up with marketing plans, but until you have things actually out that you're testing, it's all like pie in the sky stuff. Like everything sounds great at the start. You're like, let's do this and this plan and that plan. And then it's only when you put it into market where you're like, oh, now the hard work starts.
The feedback comes.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty.
Yeah. So for that first kind of year, I just sort of kind of sat, I guess, like behind Craig and was more so like the muse in the sense of, we would sample up bikinis and I would try them and we would talk about the fit and I would say what I liked and what I didn't like, and then he would go back and make the changes. So he was more so the designer and the operational kind of guy, and I was just watching and learning for the first year. So that was really hard as well for me because I'd always been very ambitious and very career driven, and for that year I felt it was quite rocky for me. I felt kind of like, what am I doing? Like, where do I fit in here? I have no skill set to offer. And then once we launched the brand and had the potential of customers and a couple of customers, that's when
game on.
I was like, oh, okay, good. I know what I'm doing now. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, interesting. So that year 2 then, after that first year and a half, what was that like? You know, you're making sales, you're probably growing very quickly at this point.
We were. I mean, you know, like I used to kind of talk down the fact that we were a unicorn business, and now that I have a second business, I can very confidently say it was a unicorn business, like the easiest business of all time.
If you got lucky, you got lucky.
Oh my God.
I think you took a crack. So
yeah. It's the thing. I think the bigger the risk, the greater the reward. I think that really does ring true for TRIANGL, because we put everything on the line, and the rewards then really drive you and feel good, and you just like so compelled to keep that momentum going. When we launched, so we sold our first bikini online in 2013. We initially launched with a wholesale model as well, but I very quickly I don't like the wholesale model. I find it a very challenging model. It's even gotten worse. It's great for some businesses. Some businesses thrive off it. I just think the direct to consumer path is far better for brand equity and brand control. Yeah. So very quickly after we did a little testing in the wholesale, we had a couple of stores in Melbourne that we were in, and like maybe 1 or 2 in Sydney. It was just so hard to manage. You end up spending all your time managing accounts, and they have like 10 bikinis in store, and it's just not an effective use of time. Yeah. So we kind of pulled that strategy, like we pulled out of that strategy, put all our effort into selling the bikinis through our website. We built a website through, I don't even remember, we found some developer on the internet and did some very basic website. And then we moved to Shopify probably like 3 or 4 months later. And that was when Shopify was like very early on. We were like one of the like big early businesses on Shopify. And we just, for the first 6 months, I would say till about June, were like a couple of orders a week, and then maybe like 1 or 2 orders a day. It was constantly growing, but at a very slow rate. But when we had like no overheads, and we were so lean that
just you two,
that every bikini sale we would profit like half of that. So say we sold for like $80, we would like be putting $40 in our pocket because our overheads were so low. So every bikini sale felt like a win. And when you'd get like 10 in a week, you're like, oh, that's $400. And the week before you only got like $100. So that was really big for us. And we were like so excited just to even get a new customer, because it was the dawn of e-commerce really around that time. So it was such uncharted territory and so novel to think that this person was finding you on the internet and trusting you enough to buy a bikini online.
Without even talking to you or a store clerk or someone.
Yeah, or like, you know, it was really exciting and felt really unique. So that was really fun to kind of, and that growth was slow but really exciting. And then of course we were very lucky to be on Instagram early as one of the, I would say probably one of the first brands globally, like new brands, to actually really drive a brand through that channel.
This is pre-TikTok as
well. It's pre
definitely.
Everything else. I mean, Facebook was there, but Facebook was like super daggy by then.
Yeah.
And Instagram became cool. Kind of like that, what TikTok kind of became, you know, like it was just so cool and exciting, and everyone was starting to turn their attention to it. And
we're using filters on their photos for the first time.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was like
vintage,
so exciting. Like,
sepia filter.
Yeah. It was like, oh my God, this is exciting. And then people were like posting only like landscape images and scenery images. And then people started to realize that like I can post myself on here, and businesses started to go, oh, we can post our brand on here and generate revenue and followers and engagement. And we rode that wave. Like I saw that early, and I knew that if we just drove this, it would be really huge for us, because it was only going to go one way. Instagram was only going to get bigger, and people were like, when you know that you kind of feel like you're early to something like that, and you just know the trajectory is big, it's like a very expansive feeling. And I remember just feeling like this is only going to go one way, so we have to keep up with that momentum and push this as hard as we can. So Instagram just was my only focus of making sure that we had beautiful imagery, putting out new product fairly constantly to excite the customer and engage them and bring new people in. And then of course, you know, we were sending out bikinis for free to women across the world, gifting, which is now obviously the most obvious thing that everyone does, but we were probably one of the first brands ever to do that.
So where did that idea come from? It's like, let's just send a bikini to some of the biggest influencers in the world. Yeah. Is that just you sitting at home one day with a coffee and going, you know what, I should do that?
So because I'm so customer centric, at the beginning of launching the brand, we only had like, you know, a couple of customers a week. So I was able to sort of sometimes communicate with them, you know, like sometimes they would have emailed me first and said, you know, I want to buy this bikini, what size would I be, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd have that organic dialogue with them, but that often didn't happen. And plus it was only happening here or there. So the actual idea of gifting in my mind was more so coming from the angle of, if I send someone a free bikini, they're going to let me know how it fits, and they're going to let me know how it feels, and they're going to give me the advice and the guidance that I need to make a better bikini for them.
They won't complain because it's
exactly
free.
And they'll give, but they'll also,
they won't return it.
They'll also give me, you know, honest feedback to an extent, but like honest in a positive way as well. Like if
a friend would.
Yeah, like if they're going to say it's probably the bottoms are too small, they're going to say it in a nice way. So it's going to be easy for me to digest rather than some angry customer. So it kind of stemmed from that initially. And then when I was doing that, I was kind of thinking at the same time, why don't I make sure that I also gift girls that are like very attractive and aligned with what we would want our customers to be looking like and how we'd want Triangle to be shown. And I wanted content for the page. We could only do a shoot, you know, every couple of months or so. And I knew back then, it's kind of flipped again now a little bit, but back then it was more exciting to see the product on people, regular people, good-looking regular people, but regular people versus a photo shoot, because that was so orchestrated and manufactured. So there was quite a few different processes of me wanting to send these bikinis and the reason why. And it worked really well from a feedback perspective, but it worked even better from a organic reach perspective, because these girls were getting bikinis. They were liking them. It was a different fabrication they'd never seen before. It had a very obvious visual identifier through the black binding that we did with our original bikinis. And so it kind of just was this, I guess, like mix of 5 or 6 different things, which is why it became so big so quickly. The whole strategy and Triangle itself. It worked so well. It was surprising to me. And when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, I wasn't like going, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. I was thinking, this is going to be really helpful. This is going to get us what we want going forward. It's going to look great, and it's going to generate sales, and it's going to generate excitement around the brand. I didn't expect it to go to the level that it did. I don't think anyone really expects those things to take off the way that they do, but it was pretty crazy how quickly it took off.
Now it seems to be a standard.
Standard. Oh yeah. And like so much so that influencer marketing, you know, I would say like Triangle was one of the brands that probably wrote the handbook on it. And it was a really pure time back then for influencers. It was lovely. Like we weren't going after influencers. That's the thing. We were sending gifts, bikinis to girls that we thought were attractive and had a good energy about them, we kind of created influencers. Like so many of those Triangle girls became big names because of Triangle, became big influencers. It helped them take their career forward. So it was a really nice time, whereas now the influencer space and the creator space is really, it's a business. And so as a brand using these people, there's not this organic connection anymore. Like in my new brand,
commercialized.
Yeah, we don't use influencers. Like I don't like it. I don't want to. I find that it's a shortcut to growth that negates the organic connection between a person and a brand. And yes, they're amazing people to use to get that quick growth. Like, you know, if I sent Deering out to 100 influencers, my brand would have grown a lot more by now. But are those 100 influencers people that genuinely would buy the brand? Are they people that genuinely would feel that they're aligned with our values? Like, no. So that's what's changed now. And I think the customer, and I think the customer's more savvy now, and they want genuine connection as well. So back then, the influencer was the customer. It was kind of the same person, whereas now it's so different. But I loved it back then because it just felt really nice. It just felt like I was lonely in Hong Kong, so I just got to talk to girls again every day, and it was just a nice way for me to actually feel connected to people.
Well, as the founder, you're talking to the actual customers and getting genuine feedback. When you're at a certain level, you wouldn't hear that stuff until 7 levels down. They're hearing the customer feedback.
Exactly.
But you're the CEO founder. You don't hear it at a certain stage. So
and you
really
need
have to relish those moments.
Yeah. Because
they're few and far between. It's certain size. So
yeah.
You also got some big names, I think.
Yes.
During that time of gift influencing.
Yes.
Era. The genuine, pure. It was free, no expectations.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the Kardashians came along as a name that.
Yeah. There was like a tipping point. We were getting, like, it used to be us reaching out to everybody, and then sometime, maybe like a year into the brand, it flipped, and then everyone started reaching out to us, which was pretty exciting and cool. And we had the first cut, she was a Jenner, so Kendall Jenner was the first person to wear the bikini, and then that kind of snowballed into basically everyone else. So it was like Kris Jenner, Kylie Jenner, Kim Kardashian, Kourtney. I think Khloe is the only one that never wore Triangle, but the rest of them did, like, quite often. And they would just get their assistants to message us and ask for bikinis, and we would send them. And, you know, it wasn't, by then they were already doing a lot of paid work, so they wouldn't really wear the brand and tag us because we hadn't paid for it, because they were already building their businesses and being strategic about that, which they were so ahead of their time. Like, truly, they were pioneers in that space. But they would wear it, and it was so easily identifiable as a bikini that everyone knew it was Triangle. And so that was one of the greatest things about having such an obvious product and sticking with that for quite a while, because everyone knew it was Triangle. So like Kendall would wear them and Kylie would wear them, and people would be like, oh, that's a Triangle bikini. I know, because I know that shape. Like, I know it. And that would be enough for people to trust the brand and want to buy the bikinis. And that was when everything went. That's how we cracked the US market, was through that family. And it was organic. It wasn't through anything paid. It was just, you know, we built relationships pretty strongly with some of the assistants. I think.
I was about to ask, how did you get? Obviously, you can't just sort of DM someone that big and expect anything back. It was they just reached out to us. Like, it was like, I remember Kim's assistant would reach out like every couple of months, and we'd send the whole collection over. And Chris's assistant, often, Chris wore them a lot, actually. I don't think she ever wore them on camera, but she was really into them. And they would just email, and we would just be really kind. And one of the things that I always did, which I still think really stands up in the consumer space, is if you're really kind to the people that are the assistants and the stylists. And I would always offer a bikini to the assistant as well. And so I'd say, like, we'll send the collection to Kim. Do you want a bikini as well? Like, do you want a couple as well? Because then I'd always put Triangle in the forefront of their mind when they were doing pulls of bikinis for different things. That always works. It just pays to be kind and genuine. And, like, in my mind, it wasn't a strategy or an angle. It was actually really just going, like, this must be so annoying for you as an assistant just to be sent all this free stuff. And I'm sure you're getting paid, but, like, it doesn't. You're seeing
how easy it is for me to send 10 bikinis to Kim Kardashian. So you would know that it would be easy for me to send 1 or 2 to you. And so I'm going to do that as an acknowledgement because I don't want you to feel like you're so much lesser than. I have like such a, I think like overly empathetic side to that sort of world. And it always was something that I felt like I needed to do to make them feel valued as well, because they are like they do all the hard work, all those people.
To these amazing people that could explode your brand.
Yeah. And now it's funny because now those stylists are like big names within their own rights because they've realized the worth and the currency of what they offer. But it was a really pure time back then because everyone was just happy.
So I'm hearing in your story, there's timing.
Yeah.
Timing was great. The ambition, the boldness of the moves.
Yeah.
And also just a very genuine approach. Like I just want to give good product to people essentially.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it.
There wasn't any engineered sort of massive, I want to take over the world, become the biggest brand plan.
No. We just wanted to sell 1 bikini a day because that matched. If we did that, that was going to match the salaries that we were on in Australia. And that was literally it. That was our benchmark. And of course it got a lot bigger than that. But I've always been wary of brands that build their brands to, especially in the consumer space where you're selling like a customer product, when you're like, oh, I'm building this to scale and I'm building this to exit and I'm building this. It's kind of like, aren't you building it because you want to make something great and sell it to someone and have them feel really good in it? Like, is that not it? Because that's what it is for me. Everything else that comes with it obviously is part of it. But what are you leading with? Like you should be leading with the fact that you have something amazing that you want the world to know about and you want to share that with them.
And you think it's good.
Yeah.
Although you think it's average and you're just trying to sell it.
Yeah, because you want to scale something. Yeah. Like I get that, but it's never rung true with me.
So almost the people that do that in that genuine way, everyone else comes after that particular model and that playbook afterwards to try and make the buck. And they probably, a lot of them are successful. But
totally.
It's the first person that goes, no, I'm going to do it in a nice way, has to, gets the success, but also is the one that fields off all the pitfalls and the challenges.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I get hyper fixated on the way I want to do something and it comes from a really genuine place. And then I almost go too far down that way and forget about the actual logistics and the operational side of things, and like that you do have to think about scaling and you do need to think about numbers and you do need to think about profitability and the revenue in that way. But I'd much rather be skewed to that side of like having a beautiful story that you want to share with the world versus the other way. I think you should always be skewed to the emotional side of things.
Has that been challenged? So like probably 3 years or 4 years down that point, you're getting challenged by the scaling, the profitability. You probably got a bigger team at that point as well.
We didn't really have a bigger team. We should have had a bigger team, but we scaled so quickly we didn't have time to bring anyone in. And that was super challenging. We were profitable from sort of like day one, and profitability was never an issue, which I think whilst it was great for that business is very detrimental in terms of moving into other businesses afterwards. Like, profitability is really hard to get, especially in today's market and today's climate.
Getting squeezed on all sides.
Oh, it's like, it's the cost to acquire a customer today is really, it's a lot higher than it was.
No longer just sending out a free bikini. It's
oh man, profitability. It was so easy. Like that was like, it was so easy. Like you'd send out a free bikini, but that would be completely eaten up by selling 3 others, or not even. Like you'd sell 1 bikini and give away 1 bikini, and I was still profitable from giving away 1 and selling 1. And so that made things super, super easy, profitability wise. But you can have a lot of money and still not feel super happy in what you're doing, and also not feel like you know what you're doing, because we didn't have any other infrastructure, and profitability was great, but we also weren't scaling the business mindfully. Like we weren't thinking about what's to come, and we had no strategies in place to kind of take us to that next level. Like TRIANGL I still believe had something so special. It could have easily gone to billions and billions of dollars in terms of revenue and company size. But we just didn't have any idea how to do that, and didn't really have the time or perhaps the desire to.
I was about to ask, did you want to do that?
Yeah, like in hindsight, yes. Now,
$1 billion would be nice.
But back then, no, because we were just making so much money and it was easy. So we were just like, this is great. But when I look back, I'm like, why were we not preparing for the ongoing management of that. Like, why were we not putting in a team to potentially not even take it to the next level, but continue to run it efficiently and find efficiencies? Because there were definitely lots of inefficiencies in the business. Like, we were super profitable because we were just selling so many bikinis, but the efficiencies, there was just some really terrible things we were doing. Like we weren't using our own warehouses. We were still using like third party, which now it's like, that's crazy. Like, why were we not just like saving all that money?
Very successful.
We were so successful.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, well, cool. We could make more money, but we're already making so much money that we don't need to like do that, or we don't need to. And efficiencies would have just been nicer to deal with in terms of having a proper process for everything. We never set that up. Like, I exited before anything like that was done. So I don't know what it's like now. It's probably, it might still be running the way it was running, which is kind of crazy to me to think about.
Do you think it was there weren't enough threats out there because it was so new, it's a new space, the timing was really good that you weren't pushed in that direction to, I think of it as almost playing a bit more defense as a business than you're playing a lot of offense. Like,
it was all offense.
Creative thing. But
all offense,
eventually a point in a business gets more preventative. You're just trying to stop bad things from happening.
Yes.
But you didn't feel the need because everything was going well.
Yeah.
Which does actually make sense. It's like, why would I try and prevent something which I don't think is going to
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would I, it was almost kind of like, why would I slow this momentum down to put things in place that don't need to be put in place because everything's working as well as it possibly could. That was definitely where our head was on it, for sure. We did face a lot of impersonator brands like copying us. Like, they came thick and fast, sort of about 3 years
copycats.
in. Oh, everywhere. Everyone, everywhere, all the time, constant. And I get it. No one was able, by that point, we were so big that no one was able to get to where we were. And when big brands copied us, like Victoria's Secret were very well known to copy brands, and they went really hard on copying us. But even that didn't really affect us too much because our customer was quite loyal to us and we'd built indirectly really built this community of this customer that trusted to come to us for her bikinis every season. So like, summer would hit and she would come to Triangle and she would buy her 5 bikinis, and she would do that every year, and she still does. Like, I still see so many people that I know from that time that are like, oh, the annual Triangle haul. And I'm like, wow, still
going.
Still, like, cool. Like, I love that. Like, we built something that people were very habitual and routine about. They only wanted to buy their bikinis from Triangle. And I think there's something to that in the sense of, if we'd perhaps diversified more, we might have lost that customer. Like, if we'd gone into more of a lifestyle brand and you know, which is what all the big brands overseas do. You know, they move into lifestyle and they start to do all these different things, and they change, you know, they move into all these categories because they're trying to, you know, make more money, and they might lose their core customer in the process.
Confuse them. It's like, you guys are doing this now. I'm not
and
sure
their
about
revenue
that.
probably goes through the roof, right?
Yeah.
Like, because they're reaching more people, but they've lost their brand. There's actually a brand that's I met with some people when I was overseas a few months ago, and they referenced this American brand, and I know it well. It was a fashion brand that probably started to do a couple of $100 million revenue. So they grew it into being a lifestyle brand, and now it does homewares and candles and towels and sheets and bedding. And it's like, that's cool, but it's not that brand. It's not that original brand anymore. Yeah. It's like that brand. So it's an interesting one. And if Triangle had done that, that would have been great. But I'm glad I exited before that happened anyway.
Yeah,
because
it was probably heading there.
I think if I'd stayed involved, it would have definitely headed there. Yeah. I was going down that path. I wanted to bring people in to scale it like that, just because I got told that was the right way to do it, and I didn't know any better, and I thought Triangle deserved to get bigger, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. But now I kind of look at it and think, oh, I don't know, actually.
You could have done it?
Probably no. I think you probably could have just kept it in its lane and still grown it and stayed really still fairly niche. I think there was a period maybe I think it's changed in the last few years. I think in the last few years we've seen brands nicheify and come back to just being about what they're good at.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think now Triangle's probably having a bit of a resurgence through being one of those niched brands. But I think there was a sort of like murky period maybe from like 2015 through to maybe like around COVID, where all those brands were just like huge valuations, and they were like getting IPOs, and you know everyone was starting to become like Michael Kors, and they were just becoming big and like, let's go into every category we possibly can. I think Triangle would have gone there. And I'm glad it didn't, to be honest.
I see that in Starbucks in America. I don't know if it's happening in Australia, but they're going back to basics in terms of their menu. They're stripping things back.
Yeah.
Nicheify, I like that.
I think it's cool. Like, I think
the world's too complex. Just do basic stuff.
What's the thing? And like, how, like, do we need another consumer brand? No, we don't. But like, we do if we nicheify them and everyone has their perfect thing that's for them, like whether it's fashion or accessories or, you know, like tech, you know, like whatever, like sporting goods, whatever it is. Like, I think nicheifying those things is really nice. I think that's where consumer brands are going now, which is cool. Yeah.
I think if I want everything, I go to Kmart.
Exactly.
Pretty much has everything.
Yeah.
I don't need another everything type of store.
Yeah. It's like you want things that, like, I just saw on the way here, like an article about women's activewear brands and how they're becoming more niche. And it was this story, and they referenced 5 different brands, and there was like the activewear brand for the Pilates girl who works in fashion, which is me. And I was like, oh, the brand's for me.
That's specifically the Pilates.
And it's like, I want to buy into that. Like, I want to buy into that story. I want to buy into being that girl because that actually is me. Whereas it was like another brand that was like, you know, like preppy tennis chic. And I was like, well, that's not me. Like, and so it makes me feel like, okay, cool. I don't know. I can very clearly not align with that brand, and I know that, and I'm going to go to that Pilates fashion brand because that's me. And I think that's really cool with consumer brands now, that a lot of brands, like, it's a smaller pool of customers, obviously.
You really like Pilates. You like running.
Yeah.
This is for you.
Yeah. But I like that it becomes more about the storytelling, and it becomes like an organic connection then with your customer, and then you've worked hard to bring them in with that. So you have to stay consistent in that messaging. And I think that's cool. Like, I think that's the kind of brand that most people should do now, because we don't need to be at all things to everyone brand. Like, no one, like you said, like, go to Kmart if you want that. Like, go to.
They got some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just go there.
It shocks me every time someone came in with a jacket from, he said, oh, it's Hugo Boss. I'm like, really? It's like, no, it's Kmart. I'm like, what? It's a really nice
I know,
jacket.
that's what I mean. Like, there's good product out there now.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere you turn, like, you know, like, this good product is easy to do. It's the storytelling and the purpose and the intention behind your brand that is what is organic and genuine and only you can do. So that's what brands now have to harness and speak with. Like, a photo shoot, a product is nothing anymore. It's like the story behind it now.
I'm sure you noticed people talking about the story of building their brand and posting almost a story series about how they're doing it from day one online. And I think that's so endearing and cute. And it's a really smart way of doing it, because people want to hear, I can go and just buy something in a store, but if I'm following someone genuine, kind of like what you did originally, but now they're more transparent about their journey. Like, imagine if you were vlogging that whole experience throughout, it's probably that's how they're going to layer deeper than what you were doing.
I feel like
because you didn't need to at that time.
Transparency is having a real moment, which is cool. I think if it's done with integrity and done in the right way, it's really powerful. And it's one of those funny things online. I think, like, when there's a great little movement like that, like a little transparency movement, it always gets ruined by someone doing it with the wrong intention, and then it becomes this other thing. You know, it's like there's such a short, like, timeline to these things working now.
Like now it's shorter, like a year, maybe even less.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, great. Like, at the moment, the vision I have for my brand, which is really niche in the way that I'm trying to do it. I know my window of getting it through right to the customer and having them understand it and having it not be something that other people run and do it in a wrong way. It's like small. It's like you have to kind of run at these strategies that you're building out, because even though you're doing it in a pure way with the right intention, if it's good and it works, other people are going to take it without the right intention and without thinking of doing it in the right way, and they're going to ruin it. And that's like, even though social media is amazing and it's accelerated things and it's wonderful, that's one of the really detrimental sides to it, is that people just take what you're doing and do it in a non-organic, non-intentional way, and they ruin it, you know?
I always think maybe just do it better. Then it's something, I've created something and you've elevated that idea.
Yeah.
So how are you approaching it now? I guess you're not going to give away your playbook at the moment if you want to keep it secret.
No, it's so fine.
But, you know, in reflection of that, during now, like what's the overarching methodology?
Yeah, it's so different. I I'm obviously like a lot older. I was 27 and when I started Triangle, so I had no idea. And I'm 40 now and I still have no idea. But
maybe a bit more.
A little more. But I have a clearer vision in the sense of, I think, you know, and like I said, consumer brands, there's so much product out there and there's so much noise and there's so much saturation. And what I'm trying to do is create a product and a space, not even just a product, but a space that makes people feel good. And that's through obviously what they wear, but it's through how they feel about what they wear. And I'm trying to bring that personal style back into fashion a little bit because we lost our way so much. People don't value, and it extends even further than that, which is where I don't actually have the playbook set out because I don't know how this will evolve, but Deering is so much more than just dressing people in clothes for me. It's really about, of course, it's about fashion and being a form of self-care and how good you feel when you wear something amazing. But I think the art of feeling good, doing different things is lost as well. And so if Deering can bring a customer in, there's a customer that wants to feel good and naturally they'll come to us because they're like, if I wear that, it's going to make me feel better. Like, yeah, like it'll make me look better, but I'm going to feel better. If I can capture that feeling for a customer and teach them how to feel better every day through valuing themselves in taking that time to get ready and picking the things that are right for them, but also being able to teach them other ways to feel better. I think that it almost feels like a duty in having a consumer brand. It's kind of like if you have a consumer brand that's selling goods to someone, it is your duty to do that with integrity and to make them feel better. You know, like it's like,
otherwise why?
Why? You know, like fast fashion, and I look at these and it's like I don't want to talk poorly of that space because these people don't have bad intentions. They're not like, ha ha ha, we're gonna make so much stuff and who cares? They're brands that scaled quickly and just are putting volume out there, right? Because they have the customer and they have that. But it just doesn't feel right, you know? Like you're looking at these people that are buying these things so quickly and it's like, you know, impulse purchasing without thinking about how it's going to make them feel. They're just thinking, oh, I want to wear that because I want to look good. And when you're younger, you can do that and that's fine. I get it. Like when I was in my 20s, I wasn't looking at silk and wool and how things made me feel. I just wanted to look good. You know, I just wanted the outfit on Saturday night and I wanted to look good. My customer is older, obviously. So she's like getting into her 30s and she wants to understand more about feeling good again. You know, I think the thing with that woman especially is that she's usually come out of a period of losing her way. You know, like she's probably had some kids or she's thought about it. She's gone through that process. Maybe she hasn't had any or she's had a career turnaround.
I was about to say, it's that moment of the 30.
Yeah. And she's like, who am I? And I want to feel good, you know? And Deering kind of came out of that, obviously with fashion because it comes so naturally to me, but women just being like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, well, because I feel good about what I do, you know? And for me, it's a feeling. And so Deering has to kind of be an extension of that for people and a safe space, whether it's through fashion, whether it's through the community that we build, for people just to come and feel better. And I feel like that's a real duty. And that's a great vision, but, you know, rolling that out strategically is a whole other thing. And I'm really fortunate. We've got incredible early adopters of the brand and they get it and they get the messaging and they understand what we're trying to do. And I'm so led by instinct on this brand that I'm just doing it. And, you know, I'll probably have to pivot 10 times and what I'm saying now might not even be what it ends up being. And I'm totally fine with that because it's just being led by instinct. And if I kind of go, oh, you know what, actually, Erin, that was stupid. Like, change that idea. That sucks. You know, like I think that the greatest brands pivot the whole way through and they change it. And you hear those stories of people going like, you know, we launched as a like eyewear brand and now we're selling like dog jackets, you know, like crazy stuff. Because the people that aren't afraid to pivot are the people that really find their fulfillment and have the success that feels good because they're not afraid of failing. Like they will happily just pivot to where things are feeling better. So that's kind of where the brand's going at the moment.
What I recognize in you as well is having a very clear vision of who you're targeting and what you're trying to go for with the feel, but then not having a real solid plan, but also being open to just sort of feeling it out, and your instincts seem to be pretty strong.
Yeah.
And that's a strength of yours because it's obviously worked and it should work again, based on your experience, it probably will work. Maybe at a different success level, but
yeah.
I've got a good feeling about it from what
Thank
you're talking
you.
about.
Yeah, look, I feel, like it's not going to be another triangle. It can't be.
Do you want it to be?
No. But the thing that I do want it to be is that Triangle was it was about a feeling. Like we did make people feel good. We made people feel part of this special community, and we did that without trying. It just happened. And so that I want to recreate. I want people to, the feedback that I always got from Triangle was that people would wear the bikini and be like, oh my God, they'd message me and be like, I felt so good in it. Like it feels amazing. And people were asking me where it was from. And I get that a lot with Deering. I get people that message me and say, when I wear this, everyone asks where I got it from. Like it's crazy. Everyone asks me where I got this piece from. And I do feel that when you build something with such intention and the way that we're doing it, that's so considered with the right reasons, it almost like creates this energetic flow. So people that are being told they like, what is that jacket from? That's amazing. I think people are feeling that they feel good in it, and that's the energy that we're cultivating. So
you're walking in with confidence and it's just something different.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's just another piece of clothing, but it's just created this effect.
Exactly. Like it really, that's what I mean. Like it really is. Like, yes, the designs are beautiful and my designer is so talented, and we're all about making things that, do look different and amazing and have a point of difference. But at the end of the day, there is someone else making something very similar to that, because you can't we can't reinvent the wheel that much for clothing. Like we really can't.
Jacket's always going to have
it's always going to have two. Yeah, it's always going to have a
zip.
zip. It's going to have two arms. It's going to have some kind of collar. Like these are things that are always going to be the same. But the feeling that you can create when someone wears that is very unique to a brand cultivating that. And that is what I'm really, really like hyper fixated on building with Deering. Yeah.
I think that's going to work. I'm confident.
Fingers crossed.
To go back, you talked about exiting. What was the experience like for that? Because I think it's a very aspirational thing for people to think, I'm going to exit one day. It's going to be amazing. Was it easy? Was it tough? Was it crazy? What was it like?
Look, mine was a very unique experience because I think a lot of people would have a very unique experience, because a lot of people these days will go into business with someone else, and it'll be a friend or a partner like mine or whatever it is, and that becomes so sticky. Like for me to exit Triangle meant leaving my fiance, meant leaving my life, meant breaking up my family. So it was a really, really complicated, messy, awful. Like the thing is, the actual original exit was really easy. Like Craig and I decided to separate romantically first when I was 9 months pregnant with our second, which was nuts, but we were both really like, this is probably the right thing, let's do that. We kept the business running together for another sort of 4 or 5 months, and then went, it's probably not going to work. And so that exit was really amicable and really easy. We like wrote down what the valuations were. I would not recommend this to anybody. We did it all off the top of our head. We had no independent people come in and advise us. So someone got screwed over in that, and it was me. It was not him. But it was easy enough in the sense of it. I think because I just went along with it, I didn't push back. That process was actually kind of painless. So we came up with an agreement on paper. Then we had some people write it up. I was advised not to get a lawyer, which if anyone, my advice to anybody that is exiting or having a change up in anything like that, never, ever, ever avoid or listen to anyone that says don't get legal advice, because it might seem like that's the safer thing to do if it's an ex-partner or a friend or a family member, because you don't want it to get nasty. But if you don't get that proper independent advice, it's not going to end out well for you. It's not going to end out well. And it didn't for me. The settlement was really unfair, so unfair. I would say I was probably under duress through that experience, unknowingly, I would say, because I was so overwhelmed, and I had a 4-month-old baby, and I just didn't really know which way was up and which way was down. So the exit was it wasn't stressful because I had no idea how much I was being sort of, I guess, like misled. And then the agreement he defaulted anyway and stopped paying me. So we went down like a 4-year legal battle after that. Only took 4 years because it took me 2 years to get a lawyer took me 2 years of trying to be amicable and trying to come to an agreement without actually seeking legal advice. And then finally, only like 3 years ago, did I actually say I'm done and I want a lawyer. And then we finally worked it out. Like probably settled finally like 2 years ago. So it's like a really long, say it was a 4-year, 5-year almost legal battle or just battle to exit. So my advice would be to anyone is to get the lawyers involved at the very beginning and take it away from you, like take it out from you, like take the emotion away from it, because it's messy. Any exit is messy, and anyone that tells you otherwise has probably not gone through the messy part of it yet.
They say like don't take business personally, but it is.
Oh, it's so personal.
How can it not be?
It's so personal.
Especially
if you're a founder, it's your whole life. Like it is personal.
Yeah.
So it was pretty messy. It's probably still like, you know, I probably, some of it's probably still pretty raw. When I look back at that initial young woman who was only like 32, who let people walk all over her, I think, in that scenario, I just wish I'd sort of stood up for myself a bit more. But, you know, I think everything happens for a reason, and I am pretty happy with where I am today with it all. But yeah, exits are hard. I think like people tend to think with the Triangle story, they will Google me and see the $200 million valuation, and most people assume that that's the money that I got. I think the majority of people think that I have $200 million. It's hilarious. I'm like, if you only,
it was tax.
If you only knew. But you know, I settled for so much less than that. Like so much less. But at the end of the day, it's not. I think because I didn't go into it with that plan to exit, I didn't go into it with
a $200 million idea.
A plan. You know, I every single sale of a bikini was a bonus. So with that, I think the way that it all turned out is kind of how I went into it anyway, you know. And with this business, that's something that I'm always mindful of. Like, I don't want to think of numbers. I don't want to imagine, when I imagine where Deering is going, there's no number attached to that, because a couple of reasons. I think you might set your bar too low, you know, like you don't know what's possible. And if you put a number out there into the universe, maybe that number's lower than it could have been and you've just limited your potential. But I also just think that you just don't know. So for me, it's kind of the metrics that I look at with those things is like, what do I love doing right now? And can I still love doing that in 5 or 10? Like, how does it feel in 5 years? Like, how does it feel in 10 years? And it's like all just about how I'm feeling, because at the end of the day, like that's the money is nice and it's a bonus and it's lovely, but it can't be your driving force, I think. Yeah. It will set you on the wrong path, really.
And how are you managing that today? You know, running a business is pretty tough, and people always ask, how do you do it? What do you say to them?
Yeah, it's tough. It's stressful. I think, you know, the amount of times I've said like, oh, the market's tough at the moment. You know,
things are tough, things are bad.
It's bad, it's tough, it's hard. It's hard. But I still love what I do, and that's it. Like, I wake up energized every day to get into the office and work on growing this into something that feels really special for people. And I just have my values. I think that's one thing, you know, people say like, how do you do it? I'm like, well, my values for the business are so clear and they're so strong, and that's how I do it, you know. Financially, I'm really fortunate. I've had capital of my own to put into the business. I don't have any investors, it's me. But on the flip side, when you don't have anyone else on that level to then talk to, it's really lonely. And at the moment, I'm putting so much money into my business, of my own money. And that's stressful, because you kind of like when is this going to flip? Like, when, you know, Deering's not profitable, like not profitable. I hired a team. I started this business, I think, you know, probably a lot. And if I had my time again, I'd do it differently, because I think I had a bit of an ego play of going like, oh, you know, like I need to do this really well and beautifully, and I need to have the team. And my ego was probably leading the way a little bit. And now I look at that and think, yeah, well, probably didn't need to do the things that I did the way that I did them. And it's just a matter of course correcting those things. I think like mistakes, you make so many mistakes all the way. And it's just about course correcting them and going, okay, what did I do wrong? Not kind of like brushing off what you did wrong, but actually like taking the time to be like, okay, that was silly. Why was that silly? What can I do to make sure I don't do that again? And then you just course correct and move on. That's kind of how I'm managing it day to day at the moment. I'm looking to get to profitability ASAP, and that involves making some pretty tough decisions about things that we're probably currently doing that aren't serving us. It means that I have to go into the P&Ls and look at that every single day, and I hate that side of the business. Like I am so silly, abundant thinking like la 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 la, like everything's great. It's like no, Erin, you need to look at what's costing you money here and how you can, and it's hard for some people. Some people are one or the other. I'm not that way. I'm creative. I'm not in that, but I have to be. And so that's how I'm getting through every day, is looking at that, being realistic, and knowing that, everything's able to be fixed, and just course correcting it as we go along, and just learning lessons the whole way. I think this feels like my first business, and I'm really, really aware of how much of a unicorn triangle was now. Like now I'm like, yeah, this that was crazy. Like that was an amazing time. And this is a different amazing time in a very different way.
So on Beyond the Fold, we're about what matters most. So what's one thing you'd like someone to remember from this conversation?
I think with me, I think a lot of people, from what I've learned, is that people put me on a bit of a pedestal, and they think that they want to know everything that I've done, and they think that I've done it with ease and without making mistakes. And I think one thing I want people to remember is it doesn't matter who you are. Every single person at the top of their game, the billionaires, everyone makes mistakes every single day, and big ones. It's how you get through those. I think it's addressing it and then just moving on. You don't have time to let the mistakes wear you down and drag you down. Just get up and dust yourself off and move on, and take that learning, because that's what it is, and just move on, and just enjoy it as much as you can. Like find a way to enjoy what you're doing every single day, because this space, this founder space is really special. It eats you up and it consumes you, but there's no greater feeling if you're driven to be a founder and be in that space. Just own it and love it, because you're really lucky if you are built that way.
Amazing.
Great.
So Erin, where can the people find you? What should they follow?
Yeah, well, I'd go to deering.world first. Go check out our website.
Definitely scroll around, click on some things.
Yeah, have a look. I'm really proud of the brand that we're building. I think it's beautiful. And we're only 9 months old. I have to remind myself that too. We're a baby.
Literally.
I move quickly, so I get impatient, and I just have to remind myself that like we're doing pretty well. Like we're not even a year old yet. But yeah, deering.world is our website, or you can find me. I'm on Instagram. I'm not too much on there anymore. I would say like I'm sporadically on there a bit, but find me there. It's Erin K Deering, and if anyone has any questions, always welcome to DM me. I'm always happy to have a conversation, especially with people that are ambitious and want a bit of advice. It's
gifts
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Time to get some payback for all that hard work.
Exactly. Amazing.
Cool.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks so much for jumping on.
Thank you.